Thinking about the fact that I've really been educated at a time of the hero architect of the 20th century, and even from my early days at university I was interested in a people's architecture, or an architecture which might encourage participation. That was sort of unusual at that time, but then again it was also being born into the architectural realm through some of the broadsheets that were coming out. I see an architect as a kind of conduit at the service of bringing in, with the community, say, what is really needed. And so in this process of facilitating, the architect and the client become like two circles, and there's a sort of a third space in the vesica, or the overlapping of the circles, where there's a charged space of listening, a charged space of dynamic conversation, where every voice is heard. That's very important. And in these processes, especially perhaps with Indigenous communities, the process is a healing process. It's not all that common for people to be listened to with care and imagination, and not only listened to but encouraged to speak. So the conversation in this middle space, and the way that middle space is created out of trust, it's like a circle of trust, is, to my way of working and my sense of what's important or what matters, is underlines it, really carries the opportunity for real meaning and real identification, if you like. So the building, in a sense, after going through this process, should reflect back to the community who it's becoming, how it's evolving. I think that's a very underrated aspect of architectural process, the work before the work, if you like. And in education, I think, for an architect to work like that, you need to be working with yourself, developing through self-development or self-awareness, to keep working on yourself in that way so you can work with others. I think that's something I've learnt that's worth sharing, or worth even being integrated into education, which it's not. So the listening and conversational aspect of what I'm talking about here is not only with people, that's very important, but also with the land. And Indigenous cultures teach us a lot about the conversation with the land. So there's a sense here of the need for opening our minds, opening our hearts, and opening our will to this common space, this middle space. And all the elements, the spirit, the spiritual dimension's important. The physical or functional aspects are important. The sense of energy and sharing and generosity of spirit that comes with working together is also another very important aspect of working with clients, I think, whether they're Indigenous or not. The first work involves, for me anyway, like things like meditation, reflection and prayer. The work after that involves carrying that atmosphere or that inner attitude of service and observational alertness into the client realm, to understand and to be able to interpret, to be able to be a catalyst for ideas and conversation. So the work after the work is really a matter of being present, that you are able to hear the important things that are said and be able to weave those together imaginatively with other people in conversation, but also when you begin. And I run workshops often as a way of working with clients and communities, and to be able to make your thinking and responses transparent to the community group is important. To be able to work up ideas while everybody's there, that at the end of the workshop people have a consensus of, yes, this is the way to go, and they're part of being carried forward in this process. And it's a creative process as well as a practical process, practical in terms of function and costs and things working, but also how does a building become a healing presence? How does it reflect aspects of people's identity and their best selves? How can it be much more than just a functional machine? How does it show and materialize warmth, receptivity? What is it giving? I think these are all important questions that are often not asked. Architecture tends to have a self-centered attitude about aesthetics rather than the social art of architecture, which I tend to be more orientated towards, perhaps. The look of things and the aesthetics are very important, but somehow the roots and the origins are in the psyche and in the body, in nature. They're not just in the head, they're not just in the look of things, they're in the spirit of things. And that's something I learnt from working on art exhibitions from China and Japan, that Western art tends to be faithful to the appearance of things. Eastern art tends to be faithful to the spirit of things. And I think indigenous culture is similar. It's the spirit of things, it's the heart of things, it's the patience, the deep listening, the dadiri, that's important. And we can learn a lot from indigenous cultures in this respect.